I'd like to call this meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August the 16th, 2022. I want to welcome you all. This meeting is public and is encouraged for you all to speak before the school board later in the meeting when appropriate. Kathy Tompkins, our assistant, has gathered the cards, and we will call you forward for the agenda items during the meeting, and then after the meeting is adjourned for the general topics. Prior to this meeting today, the school board members, superintendent, and staff enjoyed a discussion with students enrolled in the Boys and Girls Club of Sarasota and DeSoto County's STAR Leadership Training Program. I'd like those students to stand, please. We welcome you to our meeting tonight, and we know that these students are engaged in the community, and we know that they are going to be the leaders in our future. So we welcome them and thank them for being here and being with us today. Please now stand and pledge allegiance with Booker High School's JROTC under the direction of Sergeant First Class Ledbetter. That will be led by Helen Marquesa from Booker High School. Hold on.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Could we stop for a second? I'm sorry. And now I welcome Booker High School's JROTC for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And next up, we have our student representative, Helen Mosquera. Helen is a student at Booker High School. Welcome, Helen. I've just given you a certificate thanking you for being on our board and at our board table today. We wish you the best of luck in the future, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Good evening, all. My name is Helen Mosquera, and I'm a senior at Booker High School. I'm in the ACE and Law Academy programs at Booker High School, and I'm also a College for Every Student Brilliant Pathways Ambassador. It's a student leadership position at the school. We are very focused in college planning, and so we sponsor career-based clubs that are all student-led. And these include, but are not limited to, CIA, which is short for Careers in International Affairs, CROP, which is the College Reach Out program, and both are led by me, and there are many more clubs. I'm a member of both Girls Group, which is GG, which is Girls Empowering Girls Everywhere, and the SSFJ, which is the Sarasota Students for Justice. I'm also the president of the Key Club at Booker High School. I'm also the first recipient of the Booker High School Booker Promise and Take Stock in Children's Scholarship Award. I intend on attending Haverford College, majoring in cultural studies, then attending law school to pursue a career as an attorney.
Wow, that is really wonderful, and we're just very proud of all the things you're doing. You certainly are involved in the school, and we wish you every success in your future. We have a new program that we're talking about today at the board table, which is Character Strong. So could you please tell us about Character Strong trait for August and how it affects you?
Of course. The Character Strong trait for August is respect. And it is quoted that respect is seeing value in all people and things and treating them with care as everyone is important. And it is valuing people for their humanity, even though they may be different from you. The character education is what is mainly a big part of who I am and what it personally means to me. Respect is, in my opinion, the basis for teamwork. Everyone comes from very diverse backgrounds, and each of what a person goes through in their life influences what they decide to do in their life and what decisions they make. But having the most important thing, which is respect, is how we all can work together and achieve all of the goals that we want, and we can reach our highest potential. Without respect, we will not be able to achieve what we are truly possible for. And at Booker High School, we have STORM expectations that the R stands for respectful. That means that we're respectful to ourselves, to our peers, to things, and especially to our teachers who work so hard for us, and they deserve as much respect as they give to us as students. Booker High School is a place where I've learned to grow as an individual. Throughout my 4 years that I've been at the school, I've learned how to speak out loud and even be here and talk confidently. And that was only earned through the respect I had for the people who were older than me, the people who were even younger than me. We are taught to, as ambassadors of the school, to help and respect anyone that comes into the classroom. And we were trained and even chosen to be in these positions. But though we were chosen, these are aspects of a character that each of us all already have and are more than grateful to give out to the students or to teachers or the adults in the community. If having respect is what makes us as a community, then we must continue it, and it is especially important in these times, and especially as a senior in high school. I hope that I receive the same amount of respect as so many people before me have, and respect is really the groundworks and the foundations for a successful community and team. Thank you.
Well, Helen, thank you again. You're a bright light at Booker. Booker is a favorite school of mine, and I want to say thank you again, and I'm going to look forward to seeing just exactly where you end up in the next section or part of your life, but I know it's going to be successful. So thank you again for being here today. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
And next up, we have the superintendent's report. Dr. Asplin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Helen, for being here today as well. Really appreciate what you said. First of all, I just want to just say, we had a very smooth opening for our 22-23 school year this past week. I thought that our community, our parents, our principals, our faculties, our staff, everyone did an amazing job to get school started last week. I also want to thank our police officers as well for helping us out. We had some normal glitches. We do every year. The first week you'll have transportation glitches, you have a few air conditioning glitches, we're all getting used to being back at school again. And one thing I can say is all the students knew exactly what to do coming back. It was like they didn't even leave. They went right into their classrooms and they were ready to learn. So I thank them for that. And I want to thank our district level administrators as well for solving a lot of the problems that did show up last week and taking care of those to make sure that we could move forward in a positive fashion. And we did. It was great. And I, again, have to thank the parents as well, especially, in elementary school, there's a long drop-off line, and you need to be patient. Everybody's trying to be patient, dropping off their student. And, after a couple of weeks, that'll all pan out and everything will be okay. So anyway, thank you very much. Couple other items. First of all, why vote? There's a why vote contest for Sarasota's public high school students, and it's the League of Women Voters of Sarasota. They have an essay, poster, and video contest for why vote for all of our high school students so that they can share their thoughts on the importance of voting. And with the voting that's coming up, I thought that was fantastic, and I wanted to mention that. The lead author of the winning essay, the lead artist of the winning poster, and the lead videographer of the winning video could win first place $500, second place $300, third place $200. And the applications have to be in by October the 8th. October the 8th. And students will send this out to the schools as well, but you can go on the webpage there, education@lwvsrq.org to participate. All right, so it looks like we have around 870 more students this year so far. And we think we're going to have some more come in after Labor Day as well, but 870 more students. We've hired a record number of employees, I believe. 573 employees were hired, new employees were hired this year during the summer. We had 330 of those were instructional positions, 222 23 were classified positions, and then administrative, there were 21 positions. So we had, let's see, total separations, which means retired, resigned, all of those around 295. So a lot of those new employees were replacing other slots. And then with the growth, we are still hiring teachers. So we have approximately 80 instructional or teacher slots still to fill, and around 95 classified folks to still hire. So again, last year we hired around 350 total employees. This year we already hired 573, and we still have almost 200 that we need to still hire. The well is pretty much dry, but we are recruiting still. We're working on through all that in any ways we can to find high-quality staff members to hire. We'll continue to do that. Our substitute pool is very strong, and right now they're helping us out with these open vacancies until we can hire folks into these spots. Just a reminder that our district free and reduced lunch price meal benefit application is still open, and you need to please take a look at that if you haven't already and apply for that on our webpage. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was our PLC training that we had over the summer. I know I mentioned it last time, but we have a video, and I wanted to show that video. It was just a great, wonderful day, 2 days actually, for our principals and our teachers and some of our district level staff. We had amazing speakers, and this is going to be a new way of work for us, collaborative teaching, collaborative teams. It's all about getting results for our students and helping them be successful. And so I want to show this video, and then I will be through.
PLCs, the power of PLCs, it's not a program. It's a never-ending process of continuous learning, collaborative problem solving with the sole intent, one thing, to ensure high levels of learning for every student.
We are a community of professionals who learns together, right? And the more we learn, better about our craft. And the more we learn, more about our kids. The more we do that, the better off our kids will be.
We've been using PLCs, of course, for years. So I'm interested in seeing how it's going to be different now, how we're going to change it and improve it.
I think the fact that we get to bring a team here and work together as a guiding coalition to move our students forward is fantastic.
So what I hope this does really solidify our PLC process, to bring the collaborative nature of our instructional staff together so that when they work, they're working to the success of all students so that we get learning gains and growth and achievement and set our kids on the path to future success.
I love the energy of this time together, learning together, planning forward, really thinking about what the hallmarks of our success for PLCs is going to be at our own campuses, but then also being able to network with other schools.
I feel like it's a great experience because it's rejuvenating for the new school year. In addition, we have some new resources and encouragement from our district.
I'm really excited to learn how to fully implement the idea of PLC and find out how we can make that the most successful and really work as a team, because I think that through that process we'll be able to really move all of our students forward.
It is an exciting day, an exemplary day, and you can see that, you can feel it.
You know, this conference is really going to lend itself to allowing teachers to know the real purpose of collaboration, the real purpose of what a professional learning community is supposed to represent. And it's going to give them purpose and a why to the work that they do each and every day for our students.
I think one of the important pieces that I'm taking away at this point is really how we can begin to reach all of our students and really understanding the work that we're going to do and the opportunities to reach every student at every level to help them feel successful and grow.
The Branston Foundation has been amazing for Sarasota County teachers. Just at my table a moment ago, people were talking about how special they feel, how it encourages them to feel valued by the district, and that's really meaningful to us.
We think a setting like this shows that we value the teachers, and also it gets them to be thinking differently in a different environment, and this will help them bond together and be better teachers, because it's all about who's in the classroom with a student. I think sometimes when you're off campus, it allows those creative juices to really flow.
This was incredible. So I think that everyone who is here is understanding that not only is this work important, but we must be important too.
This was really exciting to be all in one room with the administrators, with the principals and the teachers, and feel part of the team.
This is all about collaboration, but I also really hope that what the teachers get out of this is the meaningful collaboration in terms of talking about kids in terms of academic improvement, and we know that that's what it's all about.
This feels different. This feels like it's going to influence our work a lot more. Part of the strategic plan is, the PLCs, and I think it seems like everything is moving in that direction.
I think it just is going to change our county because it's going to really help every teacher really reflect and look at themselves and their lessons and how they're implementing them, and really start to work together as a team, working as one for the success of all.
This is the most worthwhile and purposeful work we'll ever do. And you know what? It is life-changing for all of us to be in this together.
Great. And now everyone knows what PLC stands for, correct? I thought about that as we started this. I thought, some people in the audience may not know PLC is Professional Learning Communities, but at any rate, it's really great. And next is my favorite part of the meeting, the hearing of citizens. And these are on agenda items. And at this point, we're going to be hearing for citizens wishing to speak about a specific agenda item that's on tonight's agenda. Furthermore, speakers addressing the school board will not make remarks which are irrelevant to the business of school board or which are abusive, threatening, defamatory, obscene, profane, or otherwise of a disorderly nature. As such, it is not a forum for attacking individual employees or school board members. Any such complaints should be submitted in writing to the school board member or to the superintendent. It's unlawful to disrupt or interfere with a school board meeting, and any such action may result in a misdemeanor or offense of the second degree. At the discretion of the presiding officer pursuant to Florida Statute 1001.372, which for purposes of public comment tonight is me, any individual who interferes with the expeditious or orderly process of this meeting will be removed. This is a business meeting of the school board, and the public expects that we conduct it in an orderly, efficient, effective, and dignified manner. We humbly ask that you act as you were taught as a child, be respectful of others, and treat them as you would want to be treated. Finally, as public servants elected by the people of this county, we will listen with open minds and open hearts to your comments. We respect your First Amendment rights to freedom of speech. And as a citizen of this great country, you must understand that your rights are not absolute. So you are free to speak your mind, but you cannot defame an individual or yell fire in a crowded theater. With rights comes responsibilities. And so we begin. Mr. Edwards, would you call the first person forward?
Barbara Vaughn, Melissa Bakandi on deck. Ms. Vaughn, before you get started, after conversations with the chair and our school board attorney, we're moving you to general comments. Your last few comments have been in and around an agenda item, but not specific to an agenda item, and we will be moving you to general. At this time, I invite Mr. McKinley to review the policy for you.
The board's policy clearly says that it's within the discretion.
Turn on your microphone.
It's on. It's on.
Pull it closer to you.
There you go. Okay. The board's policy clearly says that the chair has the discretion to move you to the open public comment at the end of the meeting if he elects to do so, or she.
So we'll.
I'm not stuck with the agenda item number 15 that I put on my card. I can talk about whatever I want to in the general session. Is that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll move you to number 1 of the general.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Melissa Bakandi, Michelle Posey on deck. And on deck means that you please be available to step up to the microphone.
School board members, Dr. Asplin, my name is Melissa Bakandi, and for the record, I am neither a wingnut or a crackpot, as Jane Goodwin likes to call parents online, but a parent with children in the school district, Jane, that cares about transparency. Agenda item 1, email comments should be included in the legal minutes for the hearing of citizens, but you're afraid of putting comments in the public records. Ms. Goodwin, you're on record saying that you want no public input. This is not equitable for parents with young or disabled children that cannot come in person. Furthermore, it is intimidating for some parents to come and speak when Mr. Edwards calls them a Nazi or Ms. Brown calls them a conflict entrepreneur. Agenda item number 28, Character Strong SCL purchase. This purchase should give you great pause. How is this program vetted or chosen? What is the process? Why is this program currently at Sarasota Middle before being voted on or discussed? I went to an orientation and was told that this SEL program lumped together with mental health was mandated by the state. I was told by a high-level district employee that according to FS 1003.42, Section 2N, that there is no opt-out. However, my lawyer informed me that I do indeed have a right to opt out of curriculum that is potentially harmful to my child. Character Strong is partnered with the woke racist company Panorama, who is surveying children without parental consent on invasive issues such as gender identity, sexuality, political views, parents' income, and racially based questions. They are also under investigation for what they are doing with the data that they collect. Panorama is also prioritizing and infusing left-wing ideologies into their programs such as CRT, gender identity, and sexuality. Let me repeat that. Our proposed SEL curriculum, Character Strong, which is being implemented right now, is a current partner with Panorama, who pushes a woke agenda that most parents and the state reject. We reject Character Strong, changing the culture of our schools, as they tout on their website, when the culture they want to change it to is racially divisive, victim-identifying, and a woke, gender-affirming culture. Thank you.
Mary Budd on deck.
Thank you, Michelle Posey, District 3. I wanted to speak, there's a number of items, I'll just kind of lump them all into one. It's the everything contained in the facilities portion and construction, basically 2021 all the way through 26. My thing is this, and I want to thank Mr. Dumas for educating me, because when somebody as high up as him takes the time to respond to me, I just, that's endearing to me, because that's how we kind of rebuild the trust, and that's how we get on the right footing. So thank you so much for that. But I noticed that there doesn't have to be any competing bids. I now understand that. But he did point out to me to maybe search policy 7.71. When I did search that, I was reading that there should be a 5-member selection committee, which I think Mr. Dumas also pointed out in his email, so I was grateful for that. But it does say in that policy, your policy, that they're to convene meetings and follow Robert's rules and to be open to the public, that they're subject to Florida Sunshine Law. And I can't recall ever being invited or seeing that posted or giving the public any knowledge that there was a meeting. That's a lot of money that we're going through right now because we are preparing to build new schools. And I just think if it's not something that we're currently doing, which I honestly don't think we are, can we please start doing that? Thank you. And thank you.
Nivea Vega Clausen on deck.
Hi, my name is Mary Budd. I am a volunteer at Tuttle Elementary. I love to work with the little kindergarten kids. I like to bring them pop-up books and read them books, whatever else we end up doing for the day. But I really strongly object to the edict that we're not to have new books come into the classroom. I think that's very short-sighted. The whole idea...
Ma'am, I'm sorry, that's not Agenda 14.
It's talking about Tuttle School.
It's Agenda Item 14 is the University of Florida approval agreement, not Tuttle School.
Well, 14 is about Tuttle and 15 is about all the others.
My mistake. I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay, that's all right. So I think the decision is kind of short-sighted. I also think that this is a time when my purpose there is to instill a love of reading to these kids. And even though they can't read, my books that I bring there, it's a pop-up book with a duck beak in it. I can't understand how that is helping those kids to shut down that avenue of learning to love to read. Okay, I hope that you'll be a little bit more flexible. Thank you.
Teresa DeWitt on deck.
Hello, my name is Nivea Vega Clausen, Moms for Liberty. I have a junior. I'm commenting on item 28, approval of the Character Strong curriculum. I'm a former high school teacher from Orange County, Florida. After 6 years of teaching, I left to work in K-12 publishing, where I worked for over 20 years. I'm very familiar with how curriculum companies work. Since there was no opportunity, unfortunately, for parents to review the Character Strong curriculum through the district, I reached out to the publisher to learn more. After securing a meeting, the director of sales abruptly canceled and has not responded to my request to reschedule. The board will vote to approve almost $100,000 for this contract to support required character education standards for students in grades K through 12. I hope we can find out what alignment was made between the curriculum and the standards, what surveys, if any, will be required of students, what the curriculum looks like at every grade level, how much time will be devoted to teaching this curriculum. Will any time be taken away from academic subjects? My concern with the program is we don't know what values will be taught. With school board members bragging about being woke and working on the inside to promote their ideology, we don't know how that affects curriculum decisions. This is why we need more transparency. As a teacher, I do applaud the school district for requiring approval of reading materials teachers share with students. While there are wonderful community members that bring innocent materials, we know, and we also know that the vast majority of teachers do not share their political ideology and make great choices about what to teach. We also know that the teacher shortage will have to, with the teacher shortage, we'll have to hire teachers with little to no experience. And unfortunately, there are some teachers who espouse the National Teachers Union woke ideology, focusing on gender, abortion instead of abstinence, and critical race theory. As a parent, I really appreciate the level of scrutiny in making sure that our children are not exposed to inappropriate materials. We just want to make sure that all of the materials we purchase are free for indoctrination. Thank you for your time.
Sally Nista on deck.
Okay, hi. I would like to also discuss Character Strong again. I'm very concerned that parents and board members are not being told the truth. I had cautioned this district of Character Strong's partnership with Panorama, so I looked a little bit deeper. After I was told parents were being told Character Strong is mandatory, no longer a pilot program, as I was told in a SAC committee meeting in April, and the substance abuse videos were being combined. So here's what I found. Character Strong and Harmony are now new Panorama partners. CASEL is now the official Panorama partner with all SEL programs. Panorama provides the very same surveys to us that they are under investigation for in the state of Missouri. Wyoming just pulled all of their programming with Panorama. Dr. Asplin, the Superintendent's Association, is also Panorama partners. Now, Florida Statute 1003.53 is for alternative classroom programming for dropout or problematic behavior. SEL is not required, nor is there a standard in the state of Florida, but I already told you that. Can you tell me why our multi-tier approach has, and I quote, SEL embedded in it? Have parents been informed? Jane, I would like to commend the Florida School Board Association from withdrawing the National School Board Association after it was proven A.G. Garland targeted parents at school board meetings. So could you please explain a new article that the FSBA states they are concerned about Panorama family ties to A.G. Garland, who is the father-in-law of the owner of Panorama. However, you are allowing two SEL programs who are also partnered with Panorama to sweep across our children's mental health plan. Lastly, Jane, I received an email through FOIA between you and Dan stating we need to do something about these opt-outers. Is this in reference to the forms I submitted to the board? Is this a threat? I fully expect the majority on this board to vote down any SEL program after we have funded your FSBA expenses and also have issues with Panorama that you expressed in a prior article, as well as CASEL has adopted Panorama for all SEL programs. Let's reimagine mental health without SEL or Panorama. At this point, no parents can opt out of SEL because they are all partners with Panorama. And you have been told this repeatedly.
John Wilson on deck.
Sally Nista. I'm going to share just some thoughts about varsity tutors. Varsity Tutors is a virtual tutoring program for K-3. My understanding, it's a grant. The school district is going to have $630,000 to go towards this Varsity Tutors program. And my question and my concerns are, this is an online program for kindergarten through third graders. So I'm struggling with the fact that you're going to let kindergartners sit in front of a computer and you think that that's going to improve their reading scores. I'm very grateful for Mrs. Ellington's return call today, talking to me a little bit more about Varsity Tutors and how they're planning on using it. And she explained to me that it's an after-school program, that they're going to have parapros or maybe a teacher monitor kids that are going to be sitting in front of a computer while they do these lessons. And I just think that that's silly. The tutors at Varsity Tutors get $15 an hour, but Varsity Tutors contract is charging us $105 an hour. That's an 85% administrative cost. Employees repeatedly say that there are only two requirements, even though they tell us there's this whole big process about interviews. You have to have a driver's license and a good internet connection, and there's no drug testing. It's a telemarketing company, really. You get fired after a month if you don't meet the sales. They don't have to use district curriculum. They can teach whatever they want. I'm frustrated that this district is spending money for programs like this instead of using community resources, hiring veterans, hiring retired teachers, hiring college students to do one-on-one tutoring with kids. There's got to be a better way.
Paulina Testerman on deck.
John Wilson, I'd like to go ahead and address agenda item 15 with the science of reading. What we already found out in here is that we just keep pushing new programs in here and just making our budget and the whole thing even bigger and bloated than what it already is. So, like here, I'll give you some numbers here so you guys can listen to this. Yep, that's right. So we use reading recovery. Started a pilot in 2015, implemented in 2016. Title I schools Their FSA pass rate in 2015 was 55%. In 2016 is 56%. 2017 was 56%. And 52% in 2018, 56 in 2019, 55 in 2021, and in 2022, it was 47.5. Now, the difference between us in 2022 at 47.5 was St. John's didn't have a mask mandate. We did. That's the problem. Well, you guys keep pushing other programs in here, and I don't know if the people in charge here have any kind of morals or want to teach these kids, but I suggest that we get rid of all the junk and then add in what we need to. Wilson, that's used in St. John's County, works for all these students, which is a bigger county than we have. This past year in 2022, third graders were at 73%, maybe 76, and our third graders were at 63%. I keep asking, but I see, like, I sit in your workshops and I see your administrators, man, they are sucked right up to these companies that come in that we're using.
Alexis Spiegelman on deck.
Good evening. I'll be speaking to agenda item number 8, approval of the instructional classified personnel report. My name is Paulina Testerman. I have 2 children in Sarasota County Public Schools, and I am one of the co-founders of Support Our Schools USA, Inc., a Sarasota nonprofit committed to protecting public education. Our advocacy leads us to the front lines of the war raging in our public schools, and often we field calls and emails from concerned parents and teachers. I wanted to share with you a letter that we recently received from the Sarasota County teacher. This specific teacher is listed on your superintendent's personnel report dated today. Quote, I am 40 years old and have an advanced degree in the field in which I teach. I'm in what should be the prime of my career, yet after 10 years in the Sarasota County School Board, I have recently resigned. I wanted to teach forever, but it was destroying me to teach in Sarasota, Florida. The selfish, undereducated, and politically ambitious members of the current school board created a toxic environment to serve their own political ends, stoking a culture war that threatens academic freedom and supplants scholarship with rhetoric. I will miss teaching. I will miss candid and open conversations with engaged students about interesting topics. I will miss my colleagues and friends and all of the wonderful supportive parents and community members. I won't miss living paycheck to paycheck. I won't miss feeling like I have a target on my back because groups like Moms for Liberty are convincing the public that I can't be trusted. Wake up, Sarasota, before another teacher leaves the profession. Who will be left to teach your children? This is an important point. When I looked at that list this week and I saw all the teachers that were leaving and all the ones that were hired, and I recognize that we have a 10,000 teacher shortage, it is important for our community to get out and vote on August 23rd to save these teachers from extremism. Thank you.
No clapping, please.
Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty, Sarasota. Respect. The character trait shared earlier is great. We can all agree that respect is important. We are here because we believe that modeling is one of the most impressionable forms of education. We would like you to respect the law, especially Florida Statute 100628, which requires you to provide an opportunity for the parents and taxpaying residents of Sarasota County to review any curriculum you're considering prior to use in our schools. For example, Character Strong. We ask that you respect the right of the parents codified in the Parents' Bill of Rights and the Parental Rights in Education legislation, the right of the parent to direct the upbringing, values, education, medical care, and emotional health of their children. Parents have the God-given right to guide their children in developing good character. You are disrespecting that right when you work in secret and with such a lack of transparency. We ask that you respect Florida statute that defines character in this way. Civics and character education on the qualities and responsibilities of patriotism and citizenship, including kindness, respect for authority. The statute calls for character curriculum to teach respect for authority. Again, when we have a board majority that does not practice what they preach or model this behavior, you can understand why we are concerned about your ability to identify, let alone select, appropriate curriculum aligned with state standards. It's time for the majority on this board to respect the authority of the parent to raise their own children and direct their education. This week, we had another report in the New York Times about a data breach by Illuminate Education, who is an affiliate and integrates, shares data with many of our cloud-based software programs that are used in Sarasota County schools. Have you advised parents about the breach and how Illuminate Education is responsible for collecting cell survey data and the extent to which their children's confidential information has been exposed to this breach? I sat on a webinar with them this week, and we'll be posting that on our YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And that concludes our agenda item comments.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. And next up, we have our approval of our consent agenda. Dr. Asplin, do we have any revisions?
Yes, Madam Chair. There are two, actually. Two addendums were added to item number 8, the instructional classified personnel report. And then also item number 29, the purchase of InterExplorer digital curriculum resources. That has been pulled from the agenda. That is a resource that has been actually used in our district for 5 years, but we feel like we need to have some further research on that particular item.
May I have a motion, please?
I move the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Please vote. Does anybody?
Mine's not coming up.
Not coming up. Kathy? Oh, there it is. Did you get it?
I'll sign in again.
And the motion carries.
Oh, it came up.
Would you vote, please? Did you vote? Mrs. Brown, have you voted?
I did.
Did you confirm?
I did. But I was in the process of re-signing on, so I'll just continue to re-sign on. There it is again. And Helen, I want you to verify this.
And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. Next up, we have the new business, item number,
28.
28.
Madam Chair, I move the approval of the purchase of the Character Strong curriculum resources to be approved as presented.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Oh, sorry. Bridget Ziegler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have some questions. I know that it was addressed. I know that there's been a lot of concern raised leading up to this. And so I'm going to direct, Madam Chair, my questions to the superintendent. I know in particular, as it relates to opt-out, the superintendent had sent an email to the school board this morning, I believe, although the day was long. So I think it was this morning. It may have been yesterday. And so I was hoping you could speak to that, as I know that there has been a myriad of questions. I think that, and I, as one board member, believe there needs to be more clarity on the surveys, questions. There's some additional ones, but those are the top of the list, if you could address those.
Sure, I will. If I could ask Deb Jackalone to please come forward as well. Deb has a PowerPoint with 3 slides, and we just want to make sure everybody sees that regarding Character Strong. Yes, as far as the email is concerned, we've received quite a few, I guess, homemade opt-out forms. And so we felt the need that we needed to put together a letter explaining to parents who are turning in that homemade opt-out form that this particular item, Character Strong, it is the program is not required by the state. That's a program to fulfill the law and to fulfill the standards from the state as far as character ed is concerned. So there is a law. We do have to have character ed curriculum, and the state does require us to have to meet the standards and have that curriculum. There are a few different programs, one being Character Strong. There's another one, Character Counts, that I'm very familiar with, used in a different district. There's another, it was very weak, but our district folks vetted all of that. And last year is when we started our pilot with Character Strong, knowing that this legislation was going to pass and that we would have to have character ed in our curriculum. We were at 8 schools, and I know it was successful, and Deb's going to speak to that. But what I also wrote in the email to you was that when we send that letter out to parents who turn in their own homemade opt-out form, there's a link that directs them back to their registration card where there is a portion of it that explains what can be opted out. And so they have to choose one of those. And Deb's going to explain that as well.
Thank you so much. You've basically summed up my PowerPoint really nicely. Character education is a requirement under Florida statute. Our Department of Education has listed character education as part of our health education standards. And in Sarasota, we have chosen to use the platform Character Strong to assist our teachers with the implementation of meeting these standards. There's 3 components that are comprised in our Character Strong online platform. There's an elementary version that's age appropriate, broken down by grade level. There is a secondary component that is also broken down by grade level, age appropriate, and developmentally appropriate. There are staff connection activities built in, which is the foundation of respect in our PLCs. And then there's a monthly family newsletter that is also sent home to families to encourage parent participation and engagement with the curriculum.
So if I may as well, I know that there were a couple of concerns that were brought up. So if I can address those, I just want to make sure that we're as transparent as possible. Yes, those of you who said, shouldn't we have an idea of what this is all about before we vote on it? Yes, absolutely. And, not that this meets that criteria, but, last year when we were piloting Character Strong, on March 1st, we had it during our special presentations. March 10th, we had it during a workshop. March 3rd, we had during special presentations. And July 26th, during the approval of the mental health allocation plan, we talked about it as well. We also sent the plan to Tallahassee, to the DOE, and they approved it and sent it back to us. So it's been approved by the state of Florida. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands that we're not trying to be non-transparent. We did pilot it last year to see what it was all about and make sure it was something that we wanted. We talked about it last year, which again, I'm not saying that's good enough. We should have given you more notice and more information before tonight. We did put it out on the webpage as a link, and you'll be able to go out there. And then Deb, I know you're going to offer a couple of parent evenings for parents to be here as well. You want to talk about that?
Yes, underneath if you go onto our district webpage and you type in character education on the Find It Fast button, you will see a tab that comes up, and it will have our elementary character traits of the month, and as well as our middle school and high school character traits. And then we will also have a portion on there that has a link to the Character Strong. We are going to offer 2 parent nights for parents to come in, one that focuses on elementary and one that focuses in on secondary, where parents can look through the lessons with us. And if those times don't work, we're always welcoming to have parents into our office to review the curriculum with us and answer any questions that we have, because this is really important to us. And Dr. Asplund, 2 points of clarification. Character Strong has been part of our mental health allocation plan, like Dr. Asplund said, for the last 2 years. We're required to talk about what we do for Tier 1. And last year, we piloted at 8 schools. We had tremendous feedback. This summer, as part of our Positive Behavior Support Initiative, we hosted a 3-day professional learning opportunity for staff and administrators to participate in. We had over 200 people participate. The first 2 days, it really focused in on PBIS, and then the third day was focusing on how to implement Character Strong as part of our positive behavior intervention system. The plan that we voted on July 26th was submitted to the state on August 1st. We had our review meeting on Friday, and we did not get any kickback about having Character Strong in there. That was not an area that we needed to make revisions to.
So, and just a couple other things as well. As far as the opt-out piece is concerned, like you asked, Bridget, Ms. Ziegler, sorry. You know, just like everything else that's required here in our school district, when we have a certain activity or a certain book or something going on a certain day, and the parent doesn't want their student to be involved in that, and they talk to the teacher about that, and that's something that they'll give them a different type of activity and so on. That's still possible. The thing that we can't opt out of is our character education piece, because that is statutory. And so, yes, we are using Character Strong. That is our program. If you vote to approve it, that's the one we'll be using with all Tier 1, which means all students. And again, if there's a particular activity that parent doesn't want, they can talk to the teacher about that. Another thing, too, I know quite a few people brought up Panorama. Remember, we're not purchasing Panorama. We're purchasing Character Strong. I think Panorama has taken some of the information from Character Strong and put it on their website. And I don't know what Panorama is doing. I have no idea. We're not purchasing Panorama. It doesn't matter to us. Character Strong is what we're purchasing, and we have spent many, many hours, our district folks and school folks have spent many, many hours vetting Character Strong and the curriculum there. The representative that we contacted at Character Strong, and again, it's a representative Character Strong, so keep that in mind. That person did say there is no and has never been a partnership between Character Strong and Panorama. Panorama has put some Character Strong's free resources on their page. There has never been a written or monetary partnership between the two companies. Character Strong is their own entity. Also, the materials are not textbooks, they're not workbooks, they're not worksheets, they're not anything of that nature. They are activities for the teachers to use as a resource in the classroom. And last year, we actually went through a few of those exercises with the board. If you remember, the 1 to 5, and who's your favorite person and what kind of characteristics do they have that conversation. It's more of a 1-minute activity at the beginning of the day just to get things moving and that kind of thing. It's very good. So I just wanted you to be aware of those as well before you vote. And Deb, I don't know if you have anything else, but thank you as well.
No, thank you, guys. Here for any questions. I appreciate it.
Mrs. Rose.
I'll wait.
Mrs. Ziegler, you can finish.
Just wanted to follow up on the survey because I think that.
Yeah, good. Yes, follow up on the survey, please.
So part of Character Strong has something called campus resources, and embedded in those campus resources are surveys. We will not be using any of those surveys. We have sent a message to all staff members saying those surveys are not to be used, and Character Strong has promised us to take those surveys out of our platform. So within the next couple of weeks, they're working with their IT department to meet our request. We've said it so many times that we value our parents as partners. We need our parents as partners, and we firmly believe that we need their input when we're working with their child. So those will no longer be part of the platform, but we have shared that with our administrators and teachers.
Okay, and so, Madam Chair, just to follow up, and I thank you for addressing that. So, but to be clear, because I know we piloted it, those surveys, that was still on that platform.
The surveys, I need to check to see if the surveys were part of campus resources last year.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any surveys from Character Strong being implemented at any of our schools last year.
And so we have in documentation, full stop. I mean, and I'm not pushing back on you. But these are the kind of things where, from a holding a line standpoint of, if that's confirmed, because I understand that and being a concern of, we don't want to abuse that, and I appreciate you highlighting the importance of that partnership. And so we have to hold then the vendor accountable if that is not done. So I guess I defer to the superintendent to ensure that is,
We have
there's
a-
no slip up.
We have
I
a
guess.
district designated mental health coordinator this year as part of our statutory requirements, and she is working, you guys have met her, Mandy Coker. She is our strategy lead for Goal 2, Strategy 1, and she is working directly with the company, and we will be following up to ensure that those surveys are removed from our platform. I can follow up with the 8 pilot schools to make sure that those surveys were not utilized last year and provide that information to the board.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. One, for purposes of communication and engaging our families and reducing any controversy, will activities be posted online similar to what we do year in review for the core content areas so that families can look ahead and actually bring us together of what to expect?
Each school has worked as part of the professional learning to create an implementation plan. So I can work with the school administrators to see how we can make that possible. Some schools are doing creative things. They want to show a 5-minute clip on the morning news each week. Some people have chose to do a 1-minute activity in the morning just to warm their students up. Other schools have made this part of their wheel where students rotate through. So I will find that information out, and I will also prepare a response for the board in reference to that request.
I think that mental health is obviously a top priority for each one of us, and the character education is mandated with validity through the state. I don't want to create more work for schools from any standard. I'm hoping to increase communication and trust and set an expectation, whatever that looks like, without becoming a work overload, but being respectful of uniting our community. Because there are things that Dr. Asplund has addressed that are out there online, and I just hate to see something this important have people having perceptions that are not comfortable for them. So anything that we could do to give parents a heads up on what's coming. And then secondly, can you please clarify, Dr. Asplund, where we are required by the state to have a committee? I know we are for adopted core materials. Is there a legislative requirement for having like committees for supplemental these resource materials? Because I think there's confusion out there with that piece that would be very helpful. Not to say that communication isn't a priority by any standard.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for bringing that up. With our textbook adoption, as you know, we have our committees, and we include parents in those committees and so forth as we adopt, and we have a process for that. As far as instructional materials, ancillary materials, those types of things that are in the classroom, that is still sketchy in that we are trying to find more information out from the DOE. And then, as you know, they are creating their modules to help us with the criteria and what we're supposed to do as a school district, and that'll be ready in January. For now, just do what you're doing, do the best you can, understand what you can with the law. Superintendents are talking to each other. What do you think this means? What do you think this means? Our attorneys are doing the same thing. It's very fuzzy right now, but we will get to the bottom of it, and we will make sure that we follow it to a T.
And communicate as much as we possibly can.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
And one other thing with that, and I know for our parents, July 1 is when the laws go into place. After that, then the DOE and the schools have to interpret that with their attorneys, and sometimes that takes a little time. And I know at the last board meeting we approved, or 2 board meetings ago, we approved the student progression plan. And we did that because we wanted to get schools started. That's a good idea. Let's put out what we have. Let's get it started. And then come October, we'll have changes because we'll have interpretations coming out of Tallahassee and from our attorneys, and we'll make some changes to the student progression plan. So we'll bring it back for a vote yet again. Normally, we have done that in end of September, beginning of October, but I know that a board member suggested that, and I thought it was a good idea that we just do it as many times as we need to every time we have changes, because it's not a big deal to put it on here and vote it in. So that's where we are. There's a lag time when a law goes into place as far as implementation is concerned. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that. Thank you.
Well, I just want to make a statement about this. It seems that many times when we have something that's character development or what we call social emotional learning in the past, which is now a word that we don't use, we talk about this from the smallest component of our school district. I know that this is a wonderful program. I've talked to teachers about this and schools about this that have already experienced it. I'm excited for it. I think it's creative. We don't want every school to be the same. We don't want every school to have the same expression because they don't. But it is an activity-based program that teaches character development, and that's got to be something great, particularly in this day and age. So I'm very supportive of this. I think most of our parents agree that this is a great thing. So I just want to make sure that we align or know that, and I am heartily in agreement and approval of this. Mr. Edwards.
Yes. Last year when we were in the pilot program, Deb sent out an invitation to all board members to actually go to the classroom and witness it for yourself. At that time, Dr. Asplin, what my concern was that there was a big lump of feedback we were getting in the boardroom comments about a blur of equity and social emotional learning and all of this kind of, and it was being perceived as a problem by a vocal group. And what I caution our superintendent is that I saw it. I heard our student representative give a wonderful soliloquy on respect, which we all got that firsthand. When I went to observe at Taylor Ranch Elementary, there was a young student in the room who experiences learning challenges, and the topic activity that morning was kindness. And the teacher was doing her work, and lo and behold, the table that I was sitting at with that young man and a few other students, they're all standing up, waving their hands and carrying on because the teacher didn't call on that student when he was raising his hand and they were demonstrating kindness. So I need to make sure that the superintendent and the public understand that these are the types of programs that we're talking about. They're enrichment. They're wonderful pieces of character development. They're not hurting children. They're helping children and helping our community. Thank you.
Mrs. Brown.
I want to reiterate what I think I heard Dr. Asplin saying, and correct me if I'm wrong. Character development is something that is required in statute that we have to teach our students. And there are several issues in this that we can't opt out the whole thing because they're required. But if there's portions of it or something in it that when they see this is what they're not so much teaching but presenting that day, somebody could pull out. But there's links on the website. What is that link? What do you click on?
If you go to our district webpage, there's a little like a microscope type thing. It says find it fast. If you type in character education, it'll take you directly to the student services page, and there'll be a middle school, high school, and then an elementary calendar, and it'll also be the link to Character Strong.
And we checked this program out last year at 8 schools, and we've come back and saying this is a good program. And we workshopped it on March 10th. The state of Florida has approved it for us, and I think that's all I need to know to support this. I mean, was I incorrect on anything?
No, ma'am.
Just to be clear, like the state doesn't quote unquote approve it. It was part of our mental health allocation plan last year, which was approved. It's part of the state's plan this year, which has been reviewed, and that was not an area that needed to be updated or changed.
Thank you.
And thank you for the speediness with which you reviewed it and got that plan together, because I know we haven't had a whole lot of time on some of these plans lately, right?
We're proud of our plan. We've been recognized year after year as one of the model or exemplars for the state. So we're proud of the work of our teachers. And
thank you. We appreciate you.
Thanks.
And Dr. Asplin.
Yeah, just one other item I forgot to mention. There are 9 or 10 character traits. Is it 9?
Yep, there's 9 for our elementary, and there's 8 for our
Yes.
secondary.
And those character traits, as you know, responsibility, respect, honesty, citizenship, all of those. If you look also in our strategic plan, that was the first thing we did in our strategic plan. And there are 6 or 8 of them in our strategic plan right on the front page that are character strong character traits, and character strong is in our strategic plan. And you know, that's something we've been working on for a year and a half. So I just wanted everyone to be aware there are traits of that kind in which I think everyone can get behind as far as values, beliefs, and traits for character.
If there are no other questions, please vote. And the motion carries 4-1 with Mrs. Ziegler dissenting. And that ends new business. I have a few announcements. The next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September the 6th. Are we already in September? At 6 p.m. The monthly work session is scheduled for Tuesday, September the 13th at 9 a.m. And we have a workshop tomorrow at 9 a.m. that will probably last most of the day. A public hearing to adopt our final millage and budget meeting is scheduled for that evening, September the 13th at 5:15. Any other comments by anyone? Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to state as an individual board member, as we go forward and enter into bargaining with teachers and staff with the teachers union, I just want to say that I'm going to be a strong advocate for that being very visible. I think with a teacher shortage, that the better that we can communicate and alleviate any misinformation and provide teachers with the strongest salaries that we possibly can, and do that visibly in the confines of being visible with what our finances are, how much money we have towards that, so that it is a process that where all teachers and staff can see that we are working in partnership with them in trying to recruit and retain the teachers that we have. I feel very strongly with that, about that, and will continue to be an advocate for it. Thank you.
Mrs. Ziegler.
Thank you. Well, I concur. I think it's kind of hinging on one of the pieces. I wanted to welcome everyone back to I think, a very smooth start of year. I think about the emails that we get, and usually it's transportation, and we didn't have so many. So congratulations. I know it's been a really tough year for our transportation department, or the grace is being illustrated by our families. So kudos to everyone involved. The other part that I wanted to say, kind of hinging off of Mrs. Rose was saying, is I think it's so important to highlight and support our teachers and our educators and our staff. And when I reflect on this past week, and I'm going to tee over, Madam Chair, to Dr. Asplund to address something, it seemed like there was a lot of misinformation, particularly as it pertains to legislation that we are tasked with enacting. And as Dr. Asplund mentioned, as is the same almost every year, that when legislation is passed, there is a process in which it's passed, and then it goes to Department of Education, and then they go through the rulemaking process. And so sometimes that does, in fact, leave the district in the limbo, and that's not unique to any specific legislation that's broadly termed. But as it pertains to, I think it's HB 1467, I think, okay, and that's which broadly has been discussed about the curriculum instructional material, and that it has gone, I don't know if it's viral or what the right word is, but there has been a lot of flurry out in the community as it pertained to some kind of narrative that we're halting, discussion that no more library books, no volunteer books, no book fairs, no Scholastic, etc. And so I was concerned. So I reached out to the superintendent, and thank you to the curriculum department, because there was a very thorough response, and thank you, Mr. Renoff, for responding to that. And I think it was really important because, especially if you think about, listen, I understand that there are going to be differences of opinions on that legislation. I get that. I respect that. At the end of the day, though, it is passed, it is law, and we are responsible for enacting that. And also as leaders, I think, especially at the beginning of the school year, setting a positive tone, even again, understanding there may be differences, but there is a process that you go about trying to change something of that sort. And so enacting kind of a fear-mongering moment was alarming to me. And again, my hat's off to the administration and to the superintendent who had clarified what directive was provided. And actually, my hat's off to the union president for also clarifying that, because I think that illustrates, while there may be differing of opinions on certain policies or political ideologies or whatever bucket you want to call it, that we're all on the same page to demonstrate a steady hand. And I recall, our former superintendent, Lori White, there were times I knew she didn't necessarily agree with certain legislation, but man, did she lead with a steady hand, because she knew if she didn't, it would impact and disrupt our children's learning environment. And that is what we are all here for. And so to tee over to Dr. Asplin, I just was hoping, I know that our correspondence was on via email. And again, thank you to the curriculum department to answer those questions. And I think they even spoke with the Herald Tribune, because I read a lot of very similar aspects. But I do think it's important, because I know we have so many amazing volunteers, and thank you so much for that. And I understand that it may feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening? We're not allowed to do all these things. But at the end of the day, I think that there needs to be clarity as to why this is happening. And it is not to undermine or discredit amazing, good, well-intended people, which is the vast majority of the volunteers, of the teachers, of the administrators. But there have been examples of things that just arguably are not appropriate in our classrooms, and we have an obligation to make sure that we know and have reviewed every item that's available to every student. And that's our responsibility, and that's what parents expect us to do. And so with that aspect, I wanted Dr. Asplin to maybe to clarify any kind of nuances or misunderstandings as to part of the directive that went out at the beginning of the school year. And my thanks to the teachers who moved forward with a steady hand, focused on educating our children without adding to any hysteria.
Yes, thank you very much. I think especially with 1467, like I was saying before, there's confusion, which makes frustration. And so, every time you think you've interpreted it correctly and you make a couple calls, and then it's a little bit different than you thought in the last meeting we had, and then the next one. And at the same time, we're trying to let the principals know what to let the teachers know. And so at some point, you have to grab the bull by the horns and say, okay, here's what we're going to do until we get better information. And so, in doing that, we did put a hold on anything purchased, donated, and so on and so forth, because part of the vetting process, according to the law, is to have a media specialist vet the materials and receive certain criteria from the DOE in January. Before doing that, if everybody's doing the same old thing they always did, what do you get? The same old thing you always did, right? And so what we want to do is just use the books that we have already, which are thousands, right, or a million books. I don't know. We have a lot of books. Use those until we can get some better information. Will it be January? I hope not. If we can get some more information before that, that's good. DOE is the same thing. They're trying to interpret this and talking to attorneys, making sure we're trying to do it the right way. And so when you do that, that causes some frustration. And I think also then that frustration causes people to then say things that maybe are even out of context. Not that anybody did that, but it causes that to happen because you're trying to do the right thing and you want something that's very specific and in concrete that you can utilize, especially when you know your students are coming back to your classroom. And so that's where we're at. That's where we are right now. And so what we've told the teachers is this: look, we're going to hold off on anything new coming in because we don't know what the books are that are coming in. You don't know what they are. You would have to vet them as a teacher, which we trust our teachers to do that. But everybody has different thoughts about books, and we don't have a criteria from DOE yet to say everybody followed this. So then you're going to have all different things coming in, right? And then you're having to justify this and justify that. Let's just hold off on that for right now. Utilize the books that we have already, which we have a ton of, and then we'll move forward when we get more information. That's really where we're at. As far as making sure that your parents know what's in the media center, yes, we're going to do that. We have a program called Destiny, and that program has every single media center book on that program. Parents are even allowed to be able to go in there and check the boxes of books that they do not want their students to check out. So when the media tech is checking out books and they bring up the student's name, they can see what books the parent checked that they do not want them to pick out. Now, in the classrooms, we don't have that. So it's the teacher really working with the students in the classroom with their library. We told them to look at their classroom library, make sure they're looking for anything controversial or something that's pornographic or anything that's way out there, to make sure that if they do have something like that that's kind of controversial, to make sure that they either get permission from the parent, or if they're an elementary teacher, for instance, and they're going to read these books to their students, please make sure that when they send their weekly note home to parents, they're saying these are the books that we're going to read this week. So then parents know what they are, and then if a parent wants to call or email that teacher and say, I don't want my child to do that, then fine. But we don't need to send parent permission forms out every single time we're going to have a book read. So there are things like that we told the principals. We talked to them. They have been talking to their teachers. I know it's a lot. It sounds like a lot. When you start, as you all know, when there's a law or a procedure that you have to create with that law or a rule that comes out of Tallahassee, it's much bigger than you think. There's a lot of components to procedures to make sure that everything's going well. We have 45,000 students. 45,000. So we have to create processes to operate with large numbers and make sure everybody's doing the same thing. And what happens is it becomes less personalized. You don't want to do that, but it does. And so as soon as we get some more information and we can make some changes to some of the things we sent out, because that's the other thing. Every time you send something out, all of a sudden it changes. And we don't want to do that. So you want to wait till you get good information before you send it out. I hope that answers it.
Somewhat. So just to clarify, read alouds are available and allowed in schools when it's a book that has already been reviewed. Yes? Or
Yes.
No? Yes.
Yeah.
And scholastics are still available to be utilized. However, teachers cannot use those for points for new books until we have the guidelines. Is that correct?
I believe so. Is that correct, Chris? Yes. Sue? Rob? Yes.
And prior to this legislation, we did have a process of vetting our material. Yes?
Yes, his name is Rob Manougian.
I know, I'm looking at him. I know.
Remember,
the whole
that's a
district's on
good.
your shoulders
That's
right
a good point. We did, as I said before, back in during the recession, the media specialists were let go out of the media centers. That was a way to cut dollars, and they all went back into the classroom. I think a lot of them have retired or moved on. Right. And so we are lacking in media specialists, and that's the person that you need according to the law, someone who's certified in media specialist. So we're working on that. We'll get that done. We'll get that going. Hopefully by January we'll be all set with that. Other school districts still have their media specialists. So if you have one at every school, it's a little bit easier to then say, okay, we can still have new books coming into the schools because we have a person who can actually vet all that, and they're not teaching students all day at the same time. So there are different pieces to that we're just working through.
And final, Madam Chair, final question for the superintendent. I know that the legislation mentions the media specialist designation certification. Thank you. I know of one. I'm looking at him. I'm not trying to call out staff, but do we have more than one person with that certification inside of our district?
I think we have two. Sue and Rob, right there.
Okay,
but neither of them are available.
We do have a couple who are teachers who are teaching all day with their students, and so one of the things that I did want the DOE to let us know about that I asked the question is, since we don't have media specialists, if we had 4 or 5, and we have the criteria, and we're able to train our teachers in this criteria, can we still allow our teachers to vet using that criteria and then have our media specialists sign off that it's good, it's been vetted, it's been looked at? Because there's no way that even 5 media specialists can, in a timely fashion, vet all the books that are coming in or that we have. And so I'm hoping to get an answer for that. That would be very good. And I think it'd be good for all of our teachers to have the training and criteria coming from the state. Well,
I really
it's
don't.
probably not that simple.
I have friends who are professors of library science at Florida State, and I know a little bit about that, and I don't think it's like.
May I?
Thank you for that.
May I, Madam Chair?
Yes.
It's something that we have done, and I think that our teachers are professional enough to know. I wholeheartedly agree with what Dr. Asplin said. As a principal for 14 years, teachers know to vet books and look at grade level appropriate, know when material is sensitive. We do have highly trained people still in our schools that were reading coaches, that were media specialists. And for example, at Sarasota Middle School, Judy Robson would work with my teachers, and Sue knows very well after Judy did that, she would run those books by Sue. So I really hate to go for 6 months when we have tremendous professionalism. I mean, it's an alignment to the standards, the benchmarks, grade level appropriate, developmentally appropriate. There, 99.9% of things don't require parent permission. And when you send out the books you're reading, we have done all this. And of course, it's not something that Sue and Rob can do for every school, but I would like to throw out food for thought for you as superintendent to discuss with the DOE of what is reasonable, and that we provide the greatest enrichment. And I'm, as one board member, I can only speak for myself. I'm very confident with the professionalism in our schools and the principals. If there was any question, they would come to me, and I would go to Sue. And it is a process that we did for years. So I think that somewhere along the line, perhaps it, lost its organizational structure. I'm not sure, but I, as one board member, I see no reason that we can't be more reasonable, myself, one person, and encourage you to have that dialogue of reasonableness. Thank you.
Mrs. Brown.
I'm not going to add to the discussion on 1467. I think my views have been presented by others, but yes, it's frustrating, and we'd like to see a response to it. But tagging on what Ms. Ziegler said about misinformation, I think that's important, that misinformation doesn't get put out there. And one thing that had come out of our last board meeting, there was a vote on supplies for teachers. It was an amendment that was being offered at a time when we were voting on the millage rate, and there was 3 members who voted against it because it was supposed to be on the budget, not the millage rate. We all supported, the support for the and we had talked about it before. The vote that was made was because of where it was being offered, not that was the supplies for the teachers. I think we're all working with the superintendent to see that that's done.
And we will talk about that tomorrow.
Yes, we'll be talking about it tomorrow. But that was some misinformation that was out there. All the board members want to make sure that the teachers have the supplies they need, and the superintendent has come up with some ideas on how we're going to do that.
Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, I just want to jump in that I thought at the end of the day, I saw the guidance that Dr. Asplin had given to our teachers and staff. And as and the email I sent back to him was that I commended him for his caution, because I know that teachers are frightened. I know that staff is frightened. They don't want to be sued, and they're afraid that if they make the wrong mistake with a book or a problem. So I really appreciate Dr. Asplin's caution there. And also, I want to just reiterate that the teachers, I'm positive, did not create any alarm in their classrooms when they got this guidance. Nothing changed for them. They really did lead and teach and instruct capably. And so at the end of the day, the problem is, for me, is that we had a policy in place that any parent could object on any book or any lesson plan at any time, and it would have been removed, no questions asked. And now we have this hurdle that we have to get through, and it's unfortunate because I feel that the students, and particularly our reading challenge students, are the ones that are suffering. So I commend the superintendent.
And with that, we will end this board meeting, and we are adjourned. Next up, we have our general comments. Mr. Edwards, do you have some cards?
I do, Madam Chair. Barbara Vaughn, Dr. Jill Lewis Spector on deck.
As you know, my name is Barbara Vaughn, and normally I come to this microphone and pray, but I like to do that earlier in the meeting because this meeting has filled my heart with so many things that need to be prayed about. I was going to speak on agenda item number 15, Mr. Edwards, if you had read my card. My subject was the approval of an agreement between the University of Florida and the School Board of Sarasota County to provide professional learning on the science of reading for teachers from K through third grade. I am not up to speed on the science of reading, but $210,000 seems like a lot of money to me to spend on teaching teachers who are probably already doing a really good job, to teach them the science of teaching reading to 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds. So I object to that $210,000 expense, as I object to a lot of the expenses. One of the things that has really hurt my heart today is learning about this character learning. If you ask two different people about character, you're going to get two different answers. If somebody said to me, boy, that Tom Edwards has a lot of character, my response would be, yes, he's a character, all right. Not one that I would want any child to emulate. So we have to be careful what we call character and what kind of character we're teaching. And Lord Jesus, what I pray
on deck.
is that this board will have one returning member.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am Dr. Jill Lewis Spector, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sarasota County. I chair the League's Sarasota Education Action Team, and I'm also on the State Board of Directors for the League. First, I want to thank Dr. Asplin for announcing the Why Vote contest that we're doing for high school students. And I just wanted to share a little more information about that contest. First of all, those of you who are not familiar with the League of Women Voters, we are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization, and we do a lot of voter education, and we work to engage citizens in the life of their community and make sure that they vote. We thought that this election season was a great time to do the contest. And we want to let you know that the contest is open to all public high school students in Sarasota, and that includes the public charter schools. And even if the student is not old enough to vote, they can enter the contest. And I'll bet there are a lot of high school students who aren't old enough to vote yet. But we do want them to think about why voting is so important. We also want to make sure that you've gotten the address that you can write in order to get an application. The address is education@lwvsrq.org. And when the students write to that address for an application, in addition to the application, they will also receive some general rules about the contest. And also, we have created rubrics for the essay and for the video and for the poster. And so the student will get a set of rubrics, so they'll know how they're going
Thank
to
you.
be scored.
Melissa Bakandi on deck.
One small point,
I'm sorry.
Dr. Aspen, school board members, my name is Ainsley Bakandi. In the name of safety and security, parents are being banned from school campuses. When I was in grade school, my mom and dad walked me into my classroom every day and ate lunch with me at school at least once a week. Kids in Sarasota schools are missing out on this very special activity. It builds community. Parents talking to other parents and parents talking with teachers. But let's review the major school shootings. Who exactly are the shooters? 1993, Michigan High School, the shooter, a high school chemistry teacher on Prozac. 1999, Littleton, Colorado High School, the Columbine killing by a student on Zoloft. October 14, 2007, Cleveland, Ohio, by a student on Trazodone. February 14, 2008, Northern Illinois University, by a student on an undisclosed psychiatric drug. February 14, 2018, Parkland, Florida, by an expelled student on Zoloft. May 24, 2022, Uvalde, Texas, elementary school, former transgender student on an antidepressant. All the shooters were on psychiatric drugs, and this is what is happening in our schools. They want to give us all a mental health diagnosis, then give us a psychiatric drug. The answer to a sound mind is Jesus Christ. Not a single parent is listed. Parents are not a threat to school safety. Dr. Asplin, please open to the schools and allow parents to walk their kids into their classrooms. Thank you.
No clapping, please.
Eric Cox on deck.
Dr. Asplin, school board members. First of all, I believe parents need to be able to walk their elementary kids into the classroom. It seems there is not one school left in Sarasota County where parents are allowed to walk their kids directly into the classroom. How sad. If you want to create a thriving community built on trust and communication, you need to allow parents to walk their kids into the class. We have the #1 safest school district in the state of Florida, and the man who created it, Tim Enos, is on record this week stating that parents should be able to walk their kids directly into the classroom. It's not a safety threat, and it can and should be done. Dr. Asplin, tell your principals and your SROs to open up our schools. There's no current policy on this. Why? On another note, the public rejects the recent deceptive and conspiratory behavior by school board member Tom Edwards to undermine parental rights, the people's will, the governor, and recent legislation. Mr. Edwards was attending a forum of his fellow liberal woke activist peers who were speaking out against parental rights in education bill and recent legislation. He was so comfortable that he was caught on tape saying that he's got their back and that he is a woke school board member and that he is here working from the best strategic spot, from the inside. Repeated in a devious tone, we are working from the inside. It's comical that Mr. Edwards campaigned on no hidden agendas, but yet in his forum, he goes on to say he spent 2 years trying to earn the credibility and trust, apparently so he can work his woke agenda in from the back door. Sarasota County residents reject this deceptive behavior and will not tolerate it. Mr. Edwards, you have betrayed the public trust and you have broken your oath of office. You do not belong on a school board making policy for children or anywhere near a K-3 classroom when you do not agree with our current parent rights and education bill. I believe you have single-handedly disqualified 43,000 students for the Hope Scholarship. Parents, look that up. We have petitioned the governor to remove you as you're a threat to democracy, the rule of law, and the children's welfare. You have shown disdain for parents and parental rights, and I would do yourself a favor and resign now and save yourself the shame of being removed.
Shane Hughes.
Good evening. Without getting too overly salty, I just want to talk about what a mess our public school system is. Talk to any high schooler, question a high schooler, what is a Nazi? What are they going to tell you? Mr. Edwards, you know, they're going to tell you it's a Trump supporter or Donald Trump. They have no idea that the Nazis were actual Germans who killed Jews indiscriminately. They have no idea. Ask them who Stalin was. No idea. Who's Stalin? Stalin? I don't know. Some guy. They have no idea. What do they know? They know they can pick whatever gender they are. You know, the same generation that basically can't tell you what CO2 is. They say half of high school kids can't tell you what CO2 is. Same generation that's turning out people that think the earth is flat, turning out people that think you can pick your gender. Our public school system is a mess. I literally just read 2 days ago that half of kids graduating high school, 50% of kids graduating high school can't tell you that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. What are we talking about? Character training. Character. Let's talk about people's character. Let's not talk about history. Let's not talk about who killed people. You have high school kids walking around with a Che Guevara shirt on. Really? A Soviet sickle, hammer and sickle on their shirt? Communism is great, but we're going to call Trump and his supporters Nazis? It's absolutely sickening where we are. And nobody does anything about it in our school board. Nobody's addressing that issue. We literally have school board members calling Trump and his supporters Nazis. To the point that kids think, literally, kids are thinking that Trump and his supporters are actual Nazis. They have no idea who the Nazis actually were.
No talking from the gallery, Mrs. Picondi.
The same people wearing Che Guevara shirts have no idea how many people died at the hands of communism. But they support communism because we have people on our school board who support communism who are married to members of the Communist Revolutionary Party. You can look it up. It's the truth. It's absolutely disgusting. It needs to be addressed before all this character nonsense. Have a good evening.
Ronna Bazzini on deck. Apparently, there's no Shane Hughes. Ronna Bazzini. Oh, Mr. Hughes, you were on deck.
I'm here for the teachers. I've been in Sarasota for 31 years, and I've never seen some of the extreme politics like what we have going on in Sarasota right now. I've got a son in second grade who goes to Fruitville Elementary, and I've got a picture of him here. This is what school is about. This is a picture of him in the first day of his second grade at Fruitville Elementary. He's happy. He's got a good, clean school. He's got good teachers. This is him at the stairway, Fruitville Elementary School. This is what school is about. Some of this extreme politics I've been talking about, where we're being told that CRT is being taught in schools, or there's a liberal agenda, or there's indoctrination, or they're pushing BLM or LGBTQ. None of this stuff is happening, and there's no porn in the classrooms either. I've been there. I've talked to the teachers. I've been to 3 different classrooms. I've toured the school. I've talked to the teachers. The teachers know what they're doing. And we've got politicians at the state level bullying them and planting people on the board. So I've got another picture here, and it's not as cute as the other one I just showed you. It's an example of the politics we got going on here in Sarasota. And this is not disparaging anyone. It's showing who they align with and what we have happening. It's embarrassing. This is not cool, people.
Show it to the school board, please, and talk to the school board.
This is not cool. We don't need this embarrassment in Sarasota. I've had enough of this CRT nonsense and this stuff that's being made up.
Thank you. Michelle Posey on deck.
My name is Ronna Bazzini. I'm a Sarasota resident. Reacting to the recent legislation coming from Tallahassee, especially HB 1557, I felt I was caught in a time warp. 40 years ago, there was a movement to out and fire gay teachers. The term groomers had not been used then, but the concept was. We had a dear gay friend who was an excellent and well-admired teacher. My son wrote an article addressing this issue. These are some excerpts from that article 40 years ago. I'm proof positive that exposure does not rub off and infect young victims. Nobody was exposed to more gays and lesbians than I from childhood on. Not once did any gay try to molest me or bring me over to the other side. I've enjoyed multiple friendships, been influenced by and loved many gay people throughout my life. Hell, my mother would have been thrilled if I were to cue I Am What I Am from Cause of Fall and jump out of the closet. It would have been fabulous. Despite this, and with no reason, either by family, parents, friends, or career, to pretend to be otherwise, I turned out to be plain old straight. A non sequitur, if you will. None of this is going to matter if we continue to focus and bicker on these cultural wars and ignore the existential issue that's not just facing us, but facing the whole planet, and that's climate change. And if that's a hoax, it's a damn good one.
William Wagner on deck.
Michelle Posey, District 3. I was glad to see us talking about some things that have been happening in the last couple weeks that have led to confusion, hysteria, and really frustration. And I think we can give a round of applause to Tom Edwards for single-handedly causing that. You know, this is an exciting time in our district. It's back to school. There's new faces in the classroom. I can almost smell the pumpkin spice coming here in the fall. And yet we can't enjoy any of that because someone had to eclipse it with the unconscionable, dishonorable actions from our sitting board member, Tom Edwards. Our wonderful district, yes, made national news again as our District 3 representative just couldn't help resist airing out at a local event his violation of his campaign promise to have no hidden agenda. Just Google it. Tom Edwards woke. He is such a flagrant violation of his dereliction of duties. I feel that there's a few things that should be addressed. Number one, your job is to create policy. If you have an issue with legislation, you're sitting in the wrong seat. Go run for an office that creates legislation. That's not what you're to do here, and now I have no faith in you to be able to implement that policy. Number two, thank you for acknowledging you're woke, but could you please explain to everybody, we're dying to know, what does woke mean? What does that mean to you? Who are these people on the inside that are working behind the scene? That terrifies me. Do they include school board candidates that you've endorsed? Who are these coalitions that are coming to help, like the cavalry? And why are they not put in the sunshine? How does any of this help education? You know, you said you could fit in a thimble what you knew about education. I might add, I think you aimed a little too big, because education is built on the backbone of trust between classrooms and families, and you've never earned that. Your attitude and actions speak of corruption, collusion, and completely beyond reproach. Step down.
Lisa Schur on deck. William Wagner is not here. Lisa Schur, you're up. Well, on deck means up to step up to the microphone, so please do so.
School board members, I would like to express my support for the teachers in our community. A current teacher's job description in Sarasota might read as follows. Number 1, education. Minimum bachelor's degree or higher, except if you're served in the military. Number 2, patience. You have to listen without reaction when parents criticize your choice of reading material, even when they haven't read the book. Pay. Be willing to work long hours for a salary that's low for an expensive community with a high cost of living. And last but not least, you must also demonstrate skill in classroom barricading and be able to defend against assault weapons using dry erase markers and blunt scissors. No wonder we have retention and hiring issues. We can all try to do more to support our teachers. At the school board and administrative level, let teachers know that you are there to do everything in your power to support them. Learn what their day-to-day problems and frustrations are. Let teachers know that you have their back and they're not alone. As parents, we need to help our children with homework, make sure that we teach our children to respect their teachers, work with your teachers and not against them. There are no grand conspiracies to turn our children into Marxists, socialists, magicians, vegetarians, pescatarians, antiquarians, contrarians, or vampires. We're working together to teach our children to be responsible citizens. We want children to grow up to understand that the strength of our country lies in the support of each other, united together while respecting whatever differences each may have.
Angela Wynn on deck.
Lisa Schur. I have a child in the district. I'm here today to support our teachers. We've all heard about the teacher shortages here in Florida and the U.S. There's no teacher shortages in Florida or the U.S. There's a shortage of teachers who are willing to work under the conditions that they're working under now. And I blame you for this. You don't seem to have a problem with people making policy. You just ripped Tom a new one for making policy. But we've got an elected school board member who is not making policy, she's writing legislation. That is so far beyond her remit, it's not even funny. We've been hearing all this anecdotal evidence about the teachers. So we decided, this is a political committee, complete disclosure, I am a donor to this political committee. The name of it is We the Parents. Go to wetheparents.online and you can read the survey. Surveyed all the teachers in the school district, the entire population. We got a response rate of 15%, which results in a confidence level of 95% and a margin of error of 5%. So it's a darn good survey. 79% of the teachers who responded have 10 years or more of experience, which means they've been around the block. We're not talking two-year teachers. So these teachers have seen things. One of the questions that we asked them was, is recent legislation and state intervention having a positive or negative impact on student outcomes and metrics? Student outcomes and metrics. That is why we are here. We are here, we teachers, we parents. The students are here to learn and to do well. 81% of the teachers said that this legislation is having a negative impact on our students. Your legislation.
Thank you. Nivea Vega Clausen.
Hi, my name is Angela Wynn, and I'm one of the co-founders of Support Our Schools USA, Inc., which is a 501c4 organization. Over the past 8 months, I've become more and more concerned with the threats facing public schools, but even more so, I'm appalled at what's being done to our teachers. I grew up in Sarasota and attended a Sarasota County public school. My daughter attends a Sarasota County public school. My teachers were pivotal in my life. Most were incredible educators. Granted, they were strict at times. I got reprimanded more than once for talking, but they did their jobs and they did them well. They instilled a passion for learning. They were strong and self-assured, and I will be forever grateful to them. However, when I opened the Herald the other day and I saw the teacher survey that had been commissioned by We the Parents, I was deeply saddened at what's become of the teaching profession and the morale of our educators. Nothing has changed with the teachers themselves. Most are wonderful educators who love their job and their students, but now they are afraid to do their jobs. Instead of teaching their students how to think, they're being directed to teach them what to think. We have teachers who are scared to say or do anything that might upset or cause discomfort in their students. They're afraid to have a book in their classrooms that some parents might not like. They're afraid to be the incredible teachers they are because they fear reprisal and retaliation from parents and administrators. They're afraid they might be sued and their livelihood stolen from them. Why are we allowing teachers to be vilified and attacked? I wanted to read one of the teacher comments from the survey in the hope that our community stops allowing the educators to be ripped apart. Please listen to their voices. Vote on August 23rd. Vote for the right candidates. Stand up and support our teachers. We must, because if we don't, they will continue to leave the profession in droves, and our children and the future of our country will be at risk. Quote, I love that parents are involved in their child's education. However, the parents in Sarasota County have gone far and beyond to attack the public school and teachers. I feel stressed daily in my classroom that I will be reported by a parent. Parents send threatening and disrespectful emails as well as in public. I wonder why I am still in the education field when I feel constantly under attack from the government and parents.
Thank you. Stephen Marland on deck.
Nivea Clausen, Moms for Liberty. I won't be yelling. I left California because of the constant indoctrination of woke ideology in education. As a new resident of Sarasota with a junior in high school, Hearing Mr. Edwards say, and I quote, "So I just wanted to give a little reassurance that here in the state of Florida, there are school board members that are woke. You need to know we have your back and we're working in the best strategic spots because we're on the inside." That was a punch to the stomach. This woke ideology in California has led to the rights of parents being eviscerated. Mr. Edwards, with respect, who are you referring to when you say you have their backs? Is it the parents and teachers who subscribe to the woke National Education Association's stated goals, which are increase the implementation of critical race theory in local school districts and attack opponents, including parent organizations, call for a national policy of mandatory masking, create an enemies list, and reject the words mother and father, call on teachers to commit to young people's right to learn about and develop their own sexual orientation and gender identity? Is this the woke ideology you're working on implementing, again, in your own words, in the best strategic spots? Because we're on the inside. The vast majority of parents, they don't send their children to school to be taught gender ideology, to question the value of the country they live in, to contemplate the extinction of the planet, and to view themselves as either oppressors or oppressed. Do we wonder why so many children are depressed and contemplating suicide when they're constantly being exposed to these messages? Parents want their children to be taught academics. We don't elect school board members to create policies in support of their ideology. The attack earlier against Moms for Liberty is unfair. We won't stoop to that level. We also hear from teachers who left states like California for the freedom to teach in a state where they aren't forced to teach CRT and gender ideology. We advocate for teachers and appreciate the work they do.
Thank you. Teresa DeWitt on deck.
Hi, my name is Stephen Marland. I'd love to see our local media verify this self-funded survey. So let's bounce off this word respect. To start with, 55% of Sarasota residents were called a Nazi because they disagreed with somebody's particular point of view. And then the same person, when confronted with this idea, puts on their sheep suit and piously says, "He who was without sin cast the first stone," and then proceeds to lecture us about their self-improvement. But now, for the remainder of his term, the citizens of Sarasota have to decide, did this person really mean what they just said? Or are they working on a strategy to gain trust to remain on the inside so they can have the backs of the woke people they represent? And this person accuses other people of bringing politics into the school board? This person just admitted it's the only reason they're here. There were no children at the meeting where these remarks were made, sorry. So whose backs do you have? We need to know who else is working on the inside and for what. What is this coalition you refer to? Does it have a name? Does it include the current candidates endorsed by the Democratic Party who were there cheering you on? It's no wonder people are angry. And shame on you, Sarasota Herald Tribune and the other media, local media, who are not properly reporting on this and asking these type of questions. Yes, people are very angry, Tom Edwards.
Connie Bruni on deck. Connie Bruni on deck. Madam Chair, do we need to refrain from applause?
Yes, I'm going to have to ask some of you to leave if you do not stop clapping. This is not allowed in the board meeting. You know that. I do not need any talk from the gallery.
Well, you need some talk from somewhere, lady.
Could you ask her to leave, please?
You can ask me all day. I'm a member of the public, and I'm going to sit right here.
You know, that is such...
It's such right.
The next time I warn you, you will be asked to leave. I'm sorry, continue.
That's okay. I'm Teresa DeWitt, and I would like to add that I did make an observation that our students were allowed to clap repeatedly and were not redirected one time. So I would like that observation in the minutes. as well as I wanted to follow up with my communication on Character Strong. Where was the parents' participation in informed consent last Wednesday? Character education is a category that can be filled by any program. Character Strong is not mandatory now. Character Strong was a pilot last year. Why did Tara come to our SAC committee meeting at Southside and say we are going to pilot 3 schools? The principal stated Character Strong had been in the schools, but teachers didn't know how to use it. We requested to participate in that pilot. Why did I have a meeting with Deb on December 6th who told me she did not manage SEL? Why did Deb state in our local newspaper that there was no legislation requirement for K through 6, as well as in our meeting? Why did Deb say the district was going to choose their own program, Sanford Harmony, with their own experts? Were parents part of the expert panel? Homemade opt-out form, Dr. Asplin. I would like to state that I'm a mental health professional of 20-plus years and submitted this opt-out to the entire board and also to the minutes. Per the FOIA, you had no intention of giving this to the parents. This opt-out was given to 2 newspapers that was allowed in here by you. Let's be clear. Our children need social wellness programs. You could have picked anything. Your administration has combined substance abuse and mental health with SEL. When were you going to tell parents they could opt out? When were you going to inform parents you knew of the partnership of Panorama? Because if you didn't, you wouldn't have asked about surveys. So please, explain how this Character Strong and Harmony are going to provide data to be meaningful. Congratulations. You have just opened our 42,000 kids up to data mining. I'm not confused. This board needs to research CASEL, their changing category of inclusion, the ultimate program, transformative SEL. Do you want to know how intrusive racial programming through SEL gets in, Dr. Asplin? CASEL changes their category so unaware school districts receive new additions. Thank you, Deb, for clarifying the state does not approve our character education. I hope this district does not join the state of Missouri and can control the far-reaching arm of Panorama. Thank you.
Thank you. Sally Nista on deck.
Hi, I'm Connie Bruni. I am a grandma, and I'm a taxpayer in Sarasota County. Not just sales tax, I do pay property tax that goes to the schools. Number 1, I have a question as to how a private political action committee obtained the contact information for the district's teachers. Number 2, I come from a farm family. Tonight I have on flip-flops, but I'm here to tell you, you would need thigh-high boots for the BS that was said at this microphone tonight. Seriously. When we have, none of this stuff is happening. You got to be kidding me. I don't agree. We have had board members, and I know he was named, but Ms. Brown, you were also there, and at least 2 other school board candidate members were at the forum where it was bragged about that folks were working on the inside to thwart the governor, the state legislature, and the law. That's not okay. Number 3, school library books have always been vetted. That's not banning books. I've heard that in my face, and I disagree with that. Why do we have individual classroom libraries? Why aren't students being taken to the library like we've done for years and taught how to use the library? That's a good skill. We want them to do that, don't we? Instead, we have individual classroom libraries where woke ideologies can be sneaked in. That's what's happened. So, I was concerned because parent groups were being pitted against teachers. This week there was disinformation going around, and that's not the case. I appreciate, Dr. Asplin, that I believe that you have stated that that was patently false. So we want to make sure teachers are very clear. It is not because of parents that the books and the libraries, it's because of state law that's occurring and a need for a look at everything. If you didn't have it, you wouldn't need to do it.
Thank you. John Wilson on deck.
I support our Constitution. Dear School Board and Dr. Asplin, so much has happened since the last school board meeting. It's hard to choose what to speak about. There's the truth from Mr. Edwards that social justice activists are working from within, proving to conservative parents that we were right all along. There's also the fact that you are still keeping parents out of the schools, not allowing them to build relationships with teachers or see the classroom that their child is going to spend the next 6+ hours in. This is something that would force me to send my child to a private school too. My focus today, though, is questioning, yet again, another issue in the schools. When I enter Venice Middle School, there's a classroom window with a rainbow sticker that says Safe Zone. I asked what the sticker was for in the window. I was told it's a safe area for homosexuals, lesbians, gays. I actually was horrified. What is going on in the school where there has to be a whole room for LGH students to be safe? Why isn't the whole school safe? What are the teachers, staff, and administrators allowing to happen in the school that a room has to be designated for these kids to be safe? And if there is this kind of harassment for bullying for these kids, then surely there has to be safe rooms for Blacks, Hispanics, Christians, Muslims, girls, Asians, Irish, Indians, dwarfs, and so on. I didn't see any other kinds of stickers on windows, so I'm wondering if there's some discrimination going on at this school too. It's a hot mess. It's not okay to have a school that isn't safe for everybody. And as long as these stickers are on the window, it's a sign there's a problem in this school. I thought this was supposed to be eliminated last year. Lo and behold, same old disregard for the law. I'll be looking for more signs.
Carol Lerner on deck.
This whole place is a clown show tonight. I'm going to tell you. No, you know what? It sucks that I have to come here. Because guess what? Like, you guys have left all of the Title I schools behind, and you sit up there, you don't say a word, and hem and haw, and you yawn. There's been no growth in the Title I schools, okay? None. Let me give you 2019. 2019, out of the 1,013 kids, 819 are not proficient. Not proficient. But it's okay, I'm talking to parents, and I'm showing them, and they're upset. I know, Jane, this is boring to you, isn't it? You know, using the teachers, you think it's funny? You're not funny. You guys use the teachers. You created this whole book thing. Here, let me tell you what Shirley even said. Shirley Brown, District 4, said the freeze is preventing her from donating books. The guidelines from the state aren't even coming out until January, so why are we stopping everything now? The teachers are flipping out because you're stopping everything now, when she even said it doesn't have to be stopped now. So we're jockeying for votes. Everybody's jockeying for votes from the teachers. We don't care about educating the kids. But let me tell you, we're going to change things around here. I'm going to be here for 9 years, okay? 9. And I'll outlast all of you. Don't change things in the elementary schools, but it's okay because I'm going to be here. Now, as far as, I've been in Sarasota for 40 years. I'll tell you what Sarasota doesn't want. We don't want woke punks or BLM trash in our county. It's just that simple. You brought this on yourself.
Alexis Spiegelman on deck.
Good evening. Carol Lerner, Chair of Protect Our Public Schools, Minnesota, and board member of Support Our Schools. I actually plan to talk about just the survey, and I'm going to do that very briefly, but the comments tonight have forced me to say some other words. On the survey, I think there are two very important questions, and the results are just pretty shocking. First is, do you think that public education is under attack? Now, the response rate to that was over 90% said yes, public education is under attack. 9.39 said no. The second question, have you considered leaving the teaching profession or moving to a different state as a result of the culture wars or recent legislation? Over 60% said yes, that they have thought of leaving, and 39% said no. Pretty shocking. But I'd also like to address some of the items that were talked about tonight. On the forum, I was part of planning the forum that we had about 2 weeks ago on civics curriculum. And we assembled a group of teachers. Some of the teachers are teachers here in Sarasota. And it was a very enlightening presentation. Now, Tom Edwards, when he stood up, he basically said, I have your backs to the teachers. And I was very proud of him to say that. And this whole idea of wokeness, this word woke, Let me tell you what the Webster Dictionary defines it as. Aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues. Now, we have people who are turning words upside down. Liberty, freedom, they're all turned upside down.
Thank you. Paulina Testerman on deck.
Hello again, Alexis Spiegelman, Moms for Liberty. Dr. Asplin, the condescending tone you used when speaking about the homemade forms parents created is a perfect example of what is wrong with our district and why parents are making these forms in the first place. Our community doesn't trust you. Taking a proactive approach to transparency, such as Ms. Rose spoke about, would help to mediate some of this. When you speak to us, the people paying your $200,000 plus salary that way, it's understandable why you might have been inclined to try and include some job security measures in your last contract negotiation. Your tone reminded me of the one you used over the course of an entire year when you denied that our equity committee was supposed to be operating in the sunshine. You mocked me for questioning the secret committee that refused to share their meeting minutes. A year later, and after all their work was complete, you acted as if you were shocked that the committee was indeed required to operate in the sunshine. Interestingly, Ms. Rose recommended me for that same equity committee because my concerns over the white fragility teacher training and the CRT that was inserted in the Sarasota Brain Pop program was why I began coming to these very meetings over a year and a half ago. At that time, you said you didn't know the racist materials were included in the program the district made available to the students. This is why we all need access to all school materials. Similarly, the non-discrimination statute you use, justification for creating an entire equity committee, does not require a committee to be created at all. It calls for data to be collected. So you can understand why the blanket claim that it's required doesn't really allay our concerns. However, greater transparency would. Now I'd like to address Mr. Edwards. Ms. Goodwin and Deb Jacqueline, if you haven't watched our video Behind the Education Curtain on our YouTube channel, I implore you to do that. Mr. Edwards was quoted as saying in June 2021, "Watch how I comport myself as a professional school board member." Okay, last summer when you apologized for calling all Trump supporters Nazis, you also told us about how you let your anger about the 2016 presidential election guide your decision to run for Sarasota County School Board.
Paulina Testerman.
Good evening. I usually stick to a pretty strict script, but it's really hard to focus on that. I wanted to talk about the We the Parents survey that was in the Herald Tribune. I think it's an important part of this, and people asked, where did they get those email addresses? I'm sure we have an insider who's feeding us. I think the public needs to know that that is public information, and anyone has access to teacher email addresses. With regard to questioning the validity of the surveys, I think a lot of people don't understand how statistics work. When you provide enough of a sample, it validates the results and the answers. So the statistics stand at 95% accuracy. It's very important. These are teacher voices. These are teacher voices. I want to point out there are no teachers here speaking. Why is that? Why are teachers emailing groups and organizations but aren't speaking up? And it's because their voices have been hushed, and there's a reason for that. They don't have a voice here. We have to be their voice. We encourage the community to come together to speak on their behalf, to use their voice as a way to have these teachers heard, because these teachers are scared. The study shows, do you believe that the so-called parents' rights movement is positive or negative development for teachers? 77% said it is negative. Are you concerned about the interactions with parents in the coming school year? 63% said yes. Do you believe that the state of Florida's education policy is pro-public education? No, 73%. Do you believe it's important that school board candidates have actual education experience to guide them in the decision making? 91% said yes. Do you believe that current school board members respect and understand your job? 81% said no. You have to hear their words also. Their comments. Attacks on education are how democracy ends. We need people outside education to recognize and support what we're doing in public education, not attack us.
Thank you for your comments this evening. That concludes the general comments section.
And that concludes our meeting. Thank you all. Good night.
I'm in a school board meeting.